You're listening to the Maritime Gardening Podcast brought to you by Vessi Seeds. And today we've got Stefan Sobkowiak here to talk about orcharding, the idea, you're sitting in your office or whatever your day job is and you think, man, I'd love to just put all this and buy a piece of land and start an orchard and be self-sufficient and grow fruit on trees, that sort of thing. And wouldn't that be great? And that is exactly what he did a number of years ago. So the point of this podcast would talk through some things you need to think about if you're going to do that. Who is Stefan Sobkowiak? He's a farmer, a permaculturist, a teacher, biologist, designer, author, speaker, and the star of a very popular a video called The Permaculture Orchard. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Very inspiring video where he just basically talks about his experience starting up an orchard. Stefan, say hello.
Hi, Greg. Great to be here.
Yes, and I guess the impetus for this video or for this podcast is a video you did where you talked about all this sort of stuff. It's a really great video. I'll put a link to it at the end of this. But we were going to just talk through some of the things you said in that video. And I'll sort of let you lead the conversation since you're the expert here. I just have a couple trees, fruit trees in my garden, and actually one of them was utterly destroyed by, I think, a porcupine, a pear tree. Just the other day I was out there. I'm like, why does my tree look so weird? A porcupine climbed the tree, and it ate, like, let's see, you got the main trunk and then the branches. Each branch was bitten off about 6 inches from the trunk all the way up. I mean, there's a couple left, like a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And there's all these branches on the ground now with the buds eaten off. And the porcupine found a way through my fence and just destroyed this pear tree. Next year it was going to give me fruit. It was like eight feet high now. Just, had a really good year this year, grew well. Anyway, a lot of things to learn growing fruit trees. So let's get into it. What do people need to know?
Well, it's really to help people. It's not just orchard. We could look at it as even for your backyard.
Yes.
But if you're thinking about having a piece of land that you're going to steward and do something with, make a living from, or not, or just do something on a little bit bigger scale, maybe than your backyard. But it's really kind of a series of questions that will help people clarify things, because that clarity, it's like you have a dream. I got a dream. How clear is that dream? Oftentimes the dream is kind of like, I don't know, I just see this haze. You don't see into your dream that clearly. And these questions, or this video, was really designed and intended for that, to help focus that fuzzy image into something much clearer.
Yes.
I like to start by, whether it's consulting, whether it's courses with people, whatever it is, I like to right away help people be clear, because there are plant people and there are animal people. I can tell, Greg, you're more of a plant person. Not that you don't like animals, because you do things to get, but your main focus is actually plants.
They're
I
much
would
more
say,
easily ignored.
yeah, and they need, well, they can need less
They can.
attention,
Yes.
certainly at times.
Yes.
Animals a little different. I always came from the animal side. I love dealing with animals, but they do need, if you're raising animals, they do need more attention. And you should be able to have a pretty clear image. Yeah, if you've had cats and dogs and you think that's raising animals, it's an indication, but it's not necessarily something that, if you say, yeah, I'm going to raise animals and I'm going to sell animals. Maybe if you sell them as breeding stock, you sell them live, but usually you're selling animals after they've been killed, or you sell them and then they get killed. So if you think, oh my, I can't deal with that. Like, I can't imagine my animals being killed, you're probably not best to do anything raising animals
Yeah.
unless you want to do pedigree and breeding animals and all that. So that's the first distinction to help people understand, plants or animals. What's going to be the main focus, especially on a homestead? People say, yeah, I'm going to have animals, I'm going to raise plants, and start with one of those two groups, I would
Yes.
say, because
Know your identity, I guess. It's yeah, that makes I am definitely I go through phases with my garden where I don't want to deal with it. I don't even want it to be there. I go through phases where I'm completely, I mean, through the course of the year, even during the growing season. I mean, I look forward to winter when it's just a block of ice and I don't do anything out there and I do other things, go skiing or whatever. Um, but even there's usually a phase in the summer, usually around August, where I
yep,
mean I'm out there picking things and I'm you know, like I'm harvesting, but I don't like I spend so like almost no time in the garden in August other than shooting a video and some stuff like that. But I go through phase, or I'll even have like during a week I might have 3 days where I just don't want to deal with anything. I just want it to leave me alone. And then on day four, I'm like, oh my God, I get up at 5 a.m. and I want to go outside and I want to do stuff. But with livestock, you can't be like that.
that's right.
You got to do it. I got a buddy that has chickens, and it's every single day, and he always has to look at them and inspect them, make sure they're okay, and make sure they have everything they need, and give them the water. And if something's gone wrong, he has to separate them or do something like that. I mean, I don't even have a cat or a dog. Um, I have a goldfish pond because I don't do anything. I mean, it's just a hole in the ground with fish in it, and I don't even feed them. So yeah, I'm definitely not built for livestock. Uh, I'm very lazy. I have a big garden, but I figured out how to do that, work around my flaws, my inattentiveness by using permaculture and that sort of thing.
Well,
Um,
you're more perseverant and patient than I, because if you make it to August, I always burn out by July and I'm done. Like I need a few weeks, and it's important to take a break because the
yeah,
season can get pretty intense. I mean, your audience dealing with maritime situations, a lot of your audience don't really necessarily undergo winter. Like in maritime
it's
situations,
a weird
winter
winter.
is, yeah, it's rainy. But it's like for us, winter is a great time because it's a break. Like we have at least 3 months of snow, and that's it. Like nothing's growing, everything's dormant. It's a break, and that's nice. And it's useful. I remember in New Zealand, totally a lot of it is maritime, and people were looking at me like, when I talk about winter is such a
Winter,
break, and they're like, "What are you talking about, winter?" Well, it took a while for me to get in my head that that's true, because winter is completely a work season for you because
right?
it's cooler. It's a great time to work, but there's no snow and the ground isn't frozen solid. It's like, oh, wow, that must suck. And
Yeah,
the same in France. It was like, man, you guys don't understand the advantage we have of real Canadian
a
winter.
freeze up. Yeah,
Yeah, complete, it's a break. It's a complete break. So that is an advantage. A second point, people really, if you're listening to this and you go, well, I don't know. Well, think of it as questions. The first one, I would say, put yourself as, am I a plant person or an animal person? And the second one, I would say, know your why. That's really a good one. Like, why are you dreaming of this? Why do you want to embark on this? Because don't forget, if you're talking about plants, it's one thing if you say, I want to grow a lot of vegetables. You can start in the spring, harvest in the fall, and you're done. But if you're thinking of perennial plants, even something like raspberries or blueberries or certainly fruit trees, you put them in and it's a marathon. It's not a fall to spring, spring to fall sprint. So you've got to know your why, because you're going to have to persevere. Those first few years before you get a first fruit can really test your patience, and will test, you're going to have porcupines eating your trees. You're going to have voles, rabbits. Everything loves a young little tree.
yes,
So if you think, oh, you know what, I didn't know. I didn't know you're supposed to protect your trees for a few years really well. Yeah. Well, we've never had porcupines, thankfully.
Oh,
You
they're the
know,
worst. They're terrible.
that's it's a heavy pruning. A forced pruning and restart your tree, basically. At least you still have, let's say, 8 feet,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah,
new
height.
branches will come out.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I still have the trunk,
yeah,
the scaffold. Yes,
yeah.
thankfully.
And from there, yeah, you will have new branches, but it's a forced pruning.
Well, it was
But
such a beautiful tree too, and now it looks like crap.
well, it'll come back.
Yeah,
It'll come back. It just will delay fruiting for a year.
yeah,
You won't get your first fruit one more year because your branches will grow and they'll only fruit in the third year. So
yeah.
you're going to wait 3 years from now to get your first fruit.
That's
But it gives you the opportunity to do some great training on those branches.
yeah,
So
yeah,
for a pear tree, just lay those branches out horizontal, and man, when they produce, they will produce a ton of fruit.
yeah.
So it gives you that kind of chance to restart. So your why is really what do just why? Think of it as a little kid and be a bit Socratic. Don't be afraid to say, well, it's this. Oh, yeah, why is this? Like, don't be content with just knowing, well, I said why because I want to be in the country. Why do you want to be in the country? Well, because I want to be out of the city. Well, why do you want to be out of the city? You may end up doing a circuitous route and find that, you know what? I just want to get away from somebody. You
Hate
say,
my boss or whatever.
whatever, you just want to get away. You don't want to go there. You want to get away.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you may find that, gee, once you're living in the country, you go, this is not the city. Like, I can't Uber. My daughter moved. She's 5 hours from us. And like they do get some certain deliveries they can get. Like Amazon sometimes will come. Uh, they do get post office, but they're out there. They're right near the main border. And so it's remote. It's a very different thing. You don't say, okay, yeah, let's go out to eat. Like out to eat, you go an hour away to go out to eat.
mm,
So you think, well, wait a minute, I don't have I just call or I just go and it's, a few minutes from my door. So know why it will clarify things and keep answering why. Somebody once said that you have to get to the seventh reason. Wow, that's digging pretty deep. But when you hit it, you go, you know what? Maybe my dream was not a dream that drew me. It was a dream that I was escaping from. So just being clear on that can absolutely save you years, basically. Because if you move, I know from the statistics, we have great statistics in Quebec with people who move into regions. They call it the regions outside of the urban centers. So people who move in the regions, they know that there is like a hump. It's 2 years. The people who make it to 24 months living in the country, they know by the statistics, these people are far more likely to stay in
yeah,
that region because most people don't make it to 24 months. Like they move and they go, wait, like I can't call in a pizza. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't go out to this. I can't. It is a very different situation being outside of an urban center. So that may be what draws you because look, there are appeals to that, but it can be very different, and especially for people who want to leave the city to go outside the city, it's a very different lifestyle. So be clear on what's your why. The third one is to learn as much as you can about raising it. I would say it could be the animals, could be the plants. Maybe you say, I want to grow a vegetable garden. Okay. Have you ever grown any vegetables? Do you
yeah.
remember your first time, Greg? You were planting a certain thing, I don't know, garlic or something? Did you grow up where your parents were active gardeners?
We had a backyard garden. I mean, I was born in 1972, and it was fairly typical. So yeah, we had like maybe a 20 by 20 foot backyard garden. We grew squash and potatoes and Brussels or Swiss chard and beets and carrots and stuff like that. Uh, so, and but it was certainly not on the scale I'm growing on, and not every year. It wasn't consistent. Some years my father would put a lot of energy in the garden. Other years he'd be very busy with his work, so it would just go fallow sort of thing, right? Um, so yeah, but I mean, I didn't when I started, I didn't know anything, and I think the first year when I bought my first house. Like when I was in university, I lived in a basement apartment of a house for a number of years, and I would grow just tomatoes in the backyard, sort of thing. But when I got my first house, made I made a space for a garden the very first year. I don't think I read one book. I think I just stuck seeds in the ground and just figured I just knew everything, which is what most people do.
Yeah.
And I think. I started reading when I started having, this was before the internet was really, there was an internet, but it wasn't like it is now, right? It was like this, just, you remember what the internet was like back then. It was like documents, like a website was like a document.
Hmm.
Um, so there was some decent websites, but books were still better. So I mean, I probably got about, you know, I don't know, 6 books that I read. I'd read in the winter, every winter I would read a different book on gardening, different take, that sort of thing. And then I'd read the books to try to solve problems I had, that sort of thing, or just come up with new ideas. But I had an academic background, so I'm kind of a study type anyway.
What were
Uh,
those 6 books?
let me see. I got, where are they now? I might have gotten rid of them. Uh, One of them was like, it was this huge book I got that is definitely thrown out. It was like newsprint, but it was an inch thick of like newsprint paper. I got it, and it was everything you could possibly need. It was a very, very thorough, and it was big. It was the
The
size of
Harrow
this.
Smith Readers? Was
That
that
might
what
have
it
been it.
was?
It was like a big,
Yeah.
thick phone book,
Yeah.
right? It had a lot in it. And then other ones, it would always be things from yard sales. This might be one. Yeah, this was a really good, The Northern
Hmm.
Gardener, right? Um,
Harrow Smith. Yeah.
yeah, Harrowsmith. Yeah, Harrowsmith, The Northern Gardener. I found a PDF of Sepp Holzer's book on uh, what's that called?
Hugel culture.
Hugelkultur, yeah. So I read that. That was interesting. I read some of the permaculture, the two
Oh,
guys that
you
wrote the
started
book.
in the 90s then.
Perm one sort of thing, that sort of thing. Permaculture two, I actually found more useful because it was more aimed at like permaculture one was like, okay, you want to design a society, sort of thing. I'm not trying to design a society. I'm trying to grow stuff in my backyard, sort of thing. So Perm two was better. Um, but yeah, stuff like that, but a lot of sort of yard sale books, and I just, stick the book next to the toilet in the bathroom, and every time I sit down, oh, that's interesting, Um, but I work in an office with people, and I'll give people stuff to read. They don't read anything. Like nobody. And it's amazing. I mean, some famous quote I think from Socrates, um, where he talks about how you know you can you can get so far ahead by here it is. Um, what is it now? Uh, I can't find it now. I don't have the time. But it's something like you can learn a lot by reading what other people have figured out, right? It's a great way
Yeah.
to get, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings so that you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for. Um, yeah, it's a great quote.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway,
I
sorry.
mean, that's
I
what you're
did,
doing with your podcast. That's what you're doing with your channel. That's what I'm doing with the channel and the
I think
podcast.
you and I
You're
both, we have
just
this, like a lot of the stuff we do is like stuff I wish I knew 10 years ago, 15 years
exactly.
ago. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And there will be some people who take it to heart, and like then you don't always realize, like you're saying, we started this when, boy, for me, I remember if I wanted to learn, especially more advanced things, like let's say an apple growing and so on. Well, yeah, there was the library. It was half an hour away, and I would have to go there and sit down, maybe borrow a library. It had to be during library hours. So it's,
Yes.
and there were all these constraints. And now it's like there's so much information, great things that would save you, you know, right off the bat would save you a few years. But I think you always have to combine the doing with the learning. So, like you say, maybe the best is just start, because I like to say just start, but quickly pick up something that now I remember I read a memory book, and the guy said it's like a coat rack. You have a rack and there's all these pegs and you hook things up. So he says when you're doing, it's very easy because you have all these pegs, you have reference points. So
Yes.
that now as you learn something, you hook it on that peg. You go, I grew garlic and I didn't know that, garlic you have to plant in the fall and you harvest. I planted it in the spring like everything else. And oh, well, because you tried and you started, now you have a peg to hook it on. Next year, I'm going to do this. And
Yes.
and it's all these tips. You know what? I've been at this for over 30 years. And let me comfort people who are starting. You'll never stop learning. There will
No.
always be something you'll go, huh, I didn't know that one. Oh, I didn't
I
know that
know.
one. And now, honestly, with AI, I'm like I have AI in my car, so as I'm driving to the farm, I'll put on a certain topic. So the other day I was doing Polish lessons because my Polish is extremely rusty. Like
Yes.
it's way back machine all the time. And I was doing Polish lessons, and you can say, "Oh, slow down by 20%." And the AI tutor would slow down, but it's like crazy now the tools we have. So as long as you know your why, understand that there's things to learn and never stop learning. If you know your why and you say, I know I want to learn this because, then you will learn it. It's not
Yeah.
like school. This is not you're forced to do this. It's not this. It's I don't like doing this, but I have to do it cuz no. This is you're learning cuz you want to do it. You want to get there. So here is the things you should be learning.
Yes. And I like the point too you make about that conversation between the practical and the theoretical, or like you're reading a book, but you've got to get out there and do stuff. Like it's, especially depending on, some people just like doing, and or like maybe taking a course or helping someone or being on something, being around another person. I'm not that way. I sort of want to be left alone. But just the value of, like, you can only spend so much time reading. You got to go try.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
like you said, the academic. In university, it's always that. You have your lectures on Monday and you have your lab on Wednesday, and the
lab, yeah,
lab is applying elements of
yes,
your Monday, like the theory. Here's the concept. Now,
yes,
here is the practical trial and error of doing
yes,
this. Do a lab, do an experiment, do something that applies what you just learned. And it's really that, and then if you really want to learn fast, you do the Socrates, which is uh, learn one, do one, teach one. So if
right,
you did Monday you learn it, Wednesday you do it, but Friday you teach somebody to do it, and then
right,
you would really learn fast. But
yes, yeah. Oh, that's good advice.
the next one was starting your nursery in your backyard or at friends or families. And that could be really for vegetables as well. I would say nursery because we really need locally adapted seeds. Seeds adapt incredibly well. You plant something, it grows in your soil, in your climate, and it in that one season it starts to adapt. if you save the seeds from that plant, they'll be far better adapted to those conditions. And the more generations you do that, the better that plant can resist and withstand and go through all the vagaries and difficulties. So whether it's seeds for vegetables or whether it's uh, fruit plants, fruit trees, shrubs, whatever, starting a nursery, and I always say it's what will save you the most money. Because, I mean, money, if money is no object, that's one thing. But I think for most people, money is an object. And there is a limit of how much you have available for this project that you want to embark on.
Yes.
And so doing a nursery, and I say that's something where you don't have to wait till you found, you see, my dream is I want to be out in the country. I still need to save some money. It's in 2 or 3 years. So it's out there. Well, a very concrete thing is then start your nursery. Not, well, you even could start it now in the fall. If you could get some rootstock, put in some rootstock that you could then graft first thing in the spring. And so it's amazing. People have always totally underestimated. I used to teach at McGill, and I would take the students out and I would show them a little nursery bed that, let's say, we had on the campus. And I'd say, how many trees are in here? Oh, 50, maybe 100. Okay, let's just do a little test because it looks like a room, it's a little bed, it looks like a room. It's okay. You count this row, you count this row. And so then it's like, wow, there's like 300 or 400 trees in here. How can that be? It's just, it's a room.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like our first nursery we had was 1,100 plants, and it was uh, 20 by 70. And we had wide paths. Like we had almost a meter paths to get through and access. And it was like, that's not like that's most people's backyard easy. And
Yeah, yeah.
yet there was 1,100 trees. And it's like, well, that's a lot of trees. You can actually grow that many trees. That's a lot.
Mm.
So that's why we say, that's one of the best places to start is you'll get familiar with it, you'll understand about the tree, you'll learn some very like it's crazy how techniques in the case of grafting is such a valuable technique. It used to be considered a very peasant technique. Like everybody in the country knew how to graft. It was like
Mm.
grafting. You saw it as a kid, your parents, your grandparents were doing it and you learned it from them. And it's like, yeah, do a few and you'll see, yeah, it's not that hard. Now, every time I've taught a grafting workshop, the most common reaction was after somebody had done one or two, they go, that's it? It's like, yeah, that's it. And it's like, I always thought it was so mysterious. I've even seen videos and it's like, that, I don't know, that's hard or complicated. And when you do it, you go, like, I'm done in less than a minute and that's it. And I've gone from $1 rootstock to in one season, a $25 tree. Absolutely. I've just bought some trees this fall. I couldn't believe it. I haven't bought trees for years. And they were like a fruit tree. We were looking for the bargain ones at $100.
I know.
And this was fall, and I thought fall they would be on special. And it's like,
Mm.
man, $100 for a potted fruit tree.
I know.
So it doesn't take that long to save a lot of money.
Yes.
When if you figure you could buy rootstock at $3 and you're still miles and miles ahead. So uh, the next one was plant two trios. So I always say, you want to plant diversified. You don't want to plant in a monoculture. And trios would be two fruit trees and a nitrogen fixing tree in the middle, or a fruit tree and a nut shrub or nut tree, and then a nitrogen fixer in between. If you have two trios and your fruit trees, which would be, let's say, two apple trees and two pear trees, but your fruit trees, your apple trees would be two different apple trees, and your pears would be two different apple trees.
Two different varieties. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right there, you've added so many principles in nature that it's like, is anybody spraying nature? No. Is anybody, doing all kinds of fertilizing? No. How can they grow? How can they produce? Because there is a cooperation in trees. We think, oh, they're competing. No, they're cooperating. They're working together. In a forest, trees are actually exchanging energy. Like that's pretty wild when the Dr. Simard found that information that, the conifers are exchanging energy with the deciduous trees. Like, what? That's not their family. That's not, but they do that because at a certain time of year in this early spring, the conifer is already photosynthesizing. It's green. And so it has extra energy and it gives it to the deciduous tree
This is
because,
through mycorrhiza of
yes,
filaments.
it
Yeah.
actually exchanges sugars. It gives sugars to the deciduous. And then later in the summer, when the deciduous tree is fully leafed, it exchanges energy back. So it's like, wow, they're trading, they're exchanging, and they're cooperating. We think competition and all that. No, it's not that. In nature, it is not that. Plants work synergistically, and I mean, even the weeds, I think weeds are unsung heroes. They're growing, they're covering ground, and they're, adding sugars and adding carbon to the soil. We may not like them. They're growing, they're not what we planted, but they're covering soil and they're keeping the soil cooler and they've got all kinds of benefits.
Can
Anyway,
you explain to our viewer when you say a nitrogen fixing tree, just so they understand uh, you don't mean a nitrogen fixing fruit tree, although maybe there are some, but you just mean any tree that is known to have this capacity to fix nitrogen in the same way a bean or a pea would. Like an example would be an alder, or what are the
yeah,
ones you plant in your garden? You plant something else. I just can't remember what the variety is.
I
In
have a
your
lot of honey locust,
honey locust, yes,
black locust, but actually I've kind of, not that they're losing favor, but they're more work than some other plants that I've now got.
right.
So I've got some of the uh, Elaeagnus family, the olive type. So there's a one called Gumi, which has been really quite amazing, and it's a shrub.
Right.
And other ones are sea berry. So if somebody goes, well, yeah, but I'm up in, I'm up way up north. That's fine. Sea berry will take, zone 3, no
Oh,
problem.
they're from like Russia and Finland and stuff like that,
Yeah,
Sweden.
yeah, they're
They're nitrogen
hardy.
fixing,
Yeah, they're very good nitrogen
and you
fixers,
can eat
actually.
them.
And they produce fruit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where, you know, in other continents or other places, warmer climates, there's so many nitrogen or support species they could use, and a lot of them produce something, whether it's, edible pods or some pods can replace cocoa. And so anyway, there's all these different ones. For us, they're there like an alder. You said, alder is a great one. It's one of the best nitrogen fixing or soil improving big shrubs you could put in. Like it, I would challenge anybody who has one in their yard or in their woods, take a shovel, even, now before the soil freezes, and just dig near, like start maybe 20 feet away from that shrub, and then go in 5 foot increments, and then go like 3 feet away from that alder and just compare the soil you get. Like our
Mm.
first time we did that, it just blew everybody away. We were like, my God, look at the soil under this. It was just this black, really rich looking soil. And so they're one of the best soil improvers. So the point of nitrogen fixing, or people call it support species, it's a plant that supports the other ones. So it's able to really improve the soil much more than, let's say, a fruit tree would. A fruit tree is still improving the soil, but it's so busy with producing fruit that the energy that goes into all that fruit is not energy that it's putting into the roots to grow and really fix a lot of carbon in the soil. So these other plants really do fix a lot in the soil and improve the soil. So yeah, I call them nitrogen fixing, just like a bean. Or a bean is not a great nitrogen fixer, but like the legume family, the
Yeah.
peas and so on, they're a family that actually captures the atmospheric nitrogen. When you think of it, like it makes no sense at all to buy nitrogen when almost 80% of the air we breathe is nitrogen. It's like,
Yes.
if there's this much nitrogen in the air, you would think that nature would figure out a way to capture that and make use of it. And it has. It has, since the beginning of plants, there are plants that have captured nitrogen and put it into the soil for other plants and for themselves. So that's the whole point of we think of it. Like I remember first time I started to read about this, I thought, what? There's trees that do this? Like I'd heard of clovers and so
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
and alfalfa. Yeah, these are
Alfalfa.
plants in agriculture that are used to improve the soil, sure, and fertilize. A lot of times they'll plow these crops so that the next crop, maybe you're growing corn or pumpkin, who are real nitrogen hogs. They really need a lot.
Yes.
Well, these plants will do it. And so the same happens in trees. A lot of times that nitrogen is not necessarily created and just left there. It's you have to create it by pruning these trees or shrubs. So the just letting it grow is okay because a lot of times the leaves that fall off those trees is incredibly rich.
Mm.
I remember the first time I realized uh, how nutritious the leaves are. I was raising Muscovy ducks. It's the tree ducks that they'll actually perch in the trees. But these ducks, they're vegetarians, so they're eating plants, like they're eating leaves of things. And I let them out, and here they are trampling this beautiful clover and alfalfa, which alfalfa is like 23-25% protein, and they're trampling this to get at the honey locust leaves.
Mm.
And I'm watching them, and there they are eating the leaves at the bottom of the trees that they could reach. I thought, wow, they know something that I didn't know. Like those leaves are more nutritious than anything growing in the grass that I had.
Mm.
It's like, boy, these ducks, they're just chowing this stuff down. So I thought, you know what? When these leaves fall, and I've seen it because the leaf fall under these trees, it creates like a compost. It's
Yeah.
just black. It's amazing.
Mm.
So these are all trees and plants that just improve the soil.
Yeah.
I mean, now's a great time too, because if you have maybe somebody has a tree next to you who it's in one of that family and they're bagging up leaves and throwing them out, I'd say, you know what, just take those leaves, say thank you, get the bags and put it on your garden.
I
Like
know.
these leaves are like forget about fertilizer. Just put those leaves down. They will be amazing for your garden next year.
That's what at this time of year I mean I work downtown in the city. And on my way to and from work, I have a route where instead of taking the main roads, I drive the side streets, trolling for bags of leaves. Actually, my wife was talking to me the other day, and I didn't want to hang up on her. I was driving by all these good bags. I was like, oh, like, damn it, like I can't hang up on her because that's not nice. But I was driving by all these really nice leaves. I just let them go. But I have hung up. Sorry, I gotta go. There's a bunch of leaves. And she'll say, you're crazy. Um, Fill the car up with leaves and bring them home. But yeah, it's a great mulch, cheapest mulch ever, and
Yeah.
effective. Yeah, I agree.
You just saved some people from the amount of work that they would put into, oh, they're trying to get their garden and yet they're throwing out. First of all, I always say go to net zero in your yard, like be zero export.
Yeah,
Don't export organic material. You have leaves, you have maybe even branches that you're cutting down, don't throw it out.
yeah,
That's material there that really will help your garden. And yeah, they do need it. Uh, Another one I would say locate mother plants and put mother plants at friends, family, where you'd be able for years to come to harvest seeds, cuttings, and maybe divisions. So a mother plant is really what the word says. It's a plant that will be the mother of many generations of plants.
Mm,
So say you're growing, we have like thousands of garlic chives. It's crazy how much one plant will produce in the way of seeds or
mm,
chives. One plant probably will give you 200 to 800 seeds.
yeah.
So wait a minute, that one plant, one of those seeds will be another plant.
Oh, yeah.
Nature doesn't do addition. Nature always does multiplication.
Yes.
So we call it dividing plants because dividing goes with multiplication. And it's crazy how, nature's formula is I'll give you 10 times. And I always say, if you have your mother plants, every mother plant should produce 10 times itself every 2 years.
Mm,
Because let's say you're doing a plant where you're cutting everything down, then it grows. You grow it 1, maybe 2 years, but even just 1 year, and then you harvest again. But you could easily, that's kind of my minimum. You're gonna get 10 times the number of plants. So if you have two mother plants, every 2 years, you're gonna go to 20 plants. Actually 22 plants if you want. And so that kind of mother plant. And what I mean by mother plant is maybe in your area a certain raspberry, maybe not raspberry. Raspberry's kind of the exception because people would complain that it's taking over the yard. But let's say a really nice gooseberry, and you put it at a family member's who likes that gooseberry. You go, I like that gooseberry. Okay, can I grow that gooseberry in your yard and collect cuttings? Yeah, sure. You're going to plant, you're going to buy it, you're going to plant it. I'll have the plant. Yeah, you'll have the plant, but I can just come and get cuttings. Sure. And so you can have both. You can have cuttings and you can have fruit, or you can have more cuttings and less fruit. Like it's
mhm.
kind of a balance. What do you want that wood that it grows, the branches? Do you want it to be as much vegetative as possible, which means good cuttings? Or do you want to leave some to get older and then it will produce fruit?
Yeah.
I did a video called the Mollison's Three Phases of Abundance. It basically goes through that. First, you'll have an
Bill
abundance
Mollison.
of
Yeah.
diversity, and then you'll have an abundance of propagation material. And the last stage is abundance of yield or production or fruit
Mm,
from those plants. But mother plants is a great thing. Get a collection, get a few plants, and then you'll have. So this is all, these strategies of starting your nursery, having mother plants is things that you can do. I'm still dreaming. Someday I'm going to get a place and a piece of land. You could have the mother plants. You can have your nursery going so that when you do get that piece of land, you've already got dozens or hundreds or thousands of plants to move on to that property.
mm,
You don't realize plants, it's like money in the bank if you put it in properly where it's capital and you can just keep getting interest. So the
mm,
sooner you put that plant in, the quicker your return will be.
yeah.
So that saves you years. Um, ready for the next one?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do I want it for my own use or to sell? So now you're kind of at the juncture where, okay, you know why, do you prefer animals or plants? You've got some plants, you have a nursery, but you really need to answer long term your dream in the future. Do you want to just grow it and you say, yeah, I got a big family. I want to be able to bring baskets of fruit to my family and friends. And, I was pulling in yesterday from the farm and I'd brought a few boxes of apples back. And my neighbor happened to be walking by with her little girl. She says, my daughter loved the little apples. Like my wife had given her some apples
Mm,
because you can't buy small apples. Because
okay.
the stores are actually, the farmers are not allowed to sell the small one. They are declassed. It's
Mm,
2.5 inches, the standard for Canada fancy apple.
I see.
So anything smaller than that, you have to go right to the farmer, and that's his outclassed apples that he would have to sell you. And I know farmers who do that. They sell just the small ones because, and it makes total sense. If you have small kids, a small apple that's, less than 2 inches is perfect for a child, maybe not even in school yet, because they could eat that amount.
Right.
Otherwise, they take 4 bites and the rest of the apple is,
Oh, like some of these, what's it? There's a Honeycrisp the size of grapefruit you can get now. Huge. You eat the thing and you're, oh my God, it's stuffed,
yeah. If you can't eat it, like what is a child supposed to do? So
Yeah.
it's like it's crazy, but there is a market for small fruit. And so we gave her some. And so then I said, oh, well, come with me. And I just opened the trunk and I had the crate right there. I said, help yourself, gave her a bag and she just loaded up on all the small apples because it was like,
Mm,
that's perfect. I mean, this is exactly what her daughter liked. And she liked the fact that, it was a small apple. She could hold it. It's not like, it's kind of awkward for them.
yes.
She's 2 years old. So it's like, that's a huge apple and to be eating it and she'll never finish it. So
Yes. No, I like it. I mean, that's a great, often when people see my garden, it's like, oh, what do you sell? And it's like, no, we eat, like, I don't want to, I can't be bothered with that.
yeah, what do
Trying
you
to
do
sell.
with all of it? Because
Like,
once you have a bigger garden,
yeah, it's like we eat it all. We eat all of it. And the challenge is like, challenge for me always is growing just the right amount of everything that we can use it all. That's so much more interesting to me than growing so many carrots that I have to sell them. I mean, what am I going to sell carrots for? On the scale,
yeah,
on this scale, it's not, what, I'm going to rent out if I rent out a booth at a market garden, I'm lucky to make enough money to pay for the booth,
yeah,
even with a garden my size, because I don't grow enough of any one thing. I grow enough of everything I grow just the right amount that we eat so much of it we don't want any more. Like this year, I grew a bed of collard greens. So I'm talking an 8 by 4 bed of collard greens. And I can just see my kid's face when I make collard greens. They're like, oh, again, you know, and they're already there. And we got a lot of collard greens still. This is the time of year they actually start getting really good at the
yeah,
frost and stuff, right? But they're already sick of them. You know?
yeah. That balancing of kind of supply and demand per in the household.
Yes.
And then like we've just been giving away all our cherry tomatoes from the greenhouse because it's like, okay, we're done. Like we've been eating it since the end of June. We've had cherry tomatoes, and it's like that's 4 months of all you can eat. After a while, it's like, yeah, what else can I have?
Oh
Is
yeah.
this? I mean, we have that with asparagus in the spring, where after you've had about 10 meals of asparagus, you're
Yes.
kind of your asparagus is a very strong like it's a potent vegetable,
Yeah.
and it's one that I find you get a kind of fatigue pretty quickly. Like we even freeze a bunch, and yet most years we don't even use what's in there. We might make a couple of asparagus soups,
A soup. Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, I had so much in the spring, like so much, 10, maybe 15 meals of asparagus, and it's like, yeah. And a lot of times it's just picking it right out of the bed. Like I eat it raw
I
most
like
of
it
the
like
time.
that. Yeah. Well, I've had to grow less. I mean, I've had years where I've eaten so many tomatoes I've gotten cracks from the acidity, like a crack in the corner of my mouth, and then I had to go see a doctor. Like, what's happening to me? And the doctor's like, how many tomatoes do you eat? And I'm like, oh, 5 tomatoes a day, or like 50 cherry tomatoes. Just eat them like you're out in the garden and you're thirsty, so you eat 20 cherry tomatoes. You do that every day, and all of a sudden you're too acidic. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't grow as many tomatoes now because I'm the only person in the house that eats them. Like everybody eats them here, but I'm the person that eats them like a snack. Like I love cutting a couple open, laying them out in a plate, little salt, little pepper in there, a little piece of bread with some butter. Just enjoy all that sort of stuff. Um, but yeah, so there's a certain amount to go back to your original point. Like yeah, you're growing to sell, or you're growing for you, or you're growing to share with your friends and family. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah,
Yeah, good. It is a good question, and it helps clarify because it will right away clarify scale.
yeah, yeah.
Because like, how big is your garden?
It's about 2,500 square feet.
Okay. So,
50 by 50 sort of thing.
all right. So think, okay, 50 by 50. That mean how many are you in the house?
There's four of us.
Okay.
Two, two,
So
two
50 by
teenagers, two adults.
50, four of you are eating probably from sometime in June with the leafy things till end of October. You'll probably have some things stored up till even end of November, maybe, where it's like, yeah, your garden is providing all the vegetables to the
Yeah.
point of you're not that interested in it. It's like some of it you just get fatigued of the, like you just have enough.
Yes. Yeah. The freezer's full of stuff. And, when the beans are producing, we're eating beans almost every other day. We're also freezing the beans. Right now, it's sort of like beets, carrots, kale, potatoes, like all that stuff. It's still not that, it's still quite warm here. So, I mean, I've got beautiful kale in the garden right now and beautiful greens in the Swiss chard, kale, collard greens.
Have you had frost?
Very little, very
Oh,
little.
really? Wow.
Yeah, it's
Maritime
unbelievable.
climate.
Well, and this year is crazy. I mean, it's been a really, this is the probably the best garden I've ever had because it was so hot and so dry and so unmaritime. And no rain. We had a drought, all these fires and stuff like that, right? Yeah, the kale is just starting to produce now because it's been so dry that it just was. And I really don't nurse. I don't work. I don't do much with my garden. It's a permaculture garden, so if the kale is not growing well, I could water it and look after it and coax it along, but it's like, okay, it's not dying. It's just not, I'm not getting much of a yield, but that's okay. I got other stuff, other things are doing okay. And, like we can eat kale in October and November when it tastes, but it doesn't taste good till October anyway. So
Yeah.
the heck with it. I'll just leave it, I'll leave it to be sort of scrawny. But the last 3 weeks, the kale's just started to grow like crazy, right? 'Cause it's getting all this water now, and it's already got it. The root system's well established, but it's finally getting the water. It's got no, the sun is, we have less sun right now, but it's getting the water it needs. It's all fine because what was it? Like I would have just been even busier in the summer. So it all worked out just fine. you know.
Yeah. I
But
find
yeah.
all those brassicas, I tend to really just try to harvest them after we've had at least one good frost. I
Oh yeah.
find they
I
sweeten
harvest them
up.
right up until some point, like Christmas, basically.
Yeah.
It's because it's just not as cold here as where you are. So I mean, eventually the ground freezes. We don't get snow like you get. Tends to our winters we get snow, but we get all this sort of like
Then you have mild periods and melts.
at any point in January or February, it can warm up to 10 above 10°C.
Oh,
It
wow.
can rain all day, and then the very next day it'll be minus 15°C, and the ground turns to this just solid frozen ice. So there's a lot of perennials that suffer because of that,
Yeah.
because the roots get frozen in a block of ice. Then we'll get some more snow, and then we'll get rain, and it'll all melt. We never get a
Yeah.
consistent layer of snow.
For
Uh,
me, it's only been the last 4 years that we've consistently been able to grow some of our herbs,
wow.
like lavender, sage. Sage hadn't overwintered. I planted it, it would grow 2, 3 years, it would die back. But
Really?
now that the orchard has grown enough, what happens
Uh,
is now when we get snow, like December, over Christmas and so on, when we do get a January thaw, there's enough snow that we've had always 6 inches of snow left,
right.
even if the fields go bare. But in the orchard, there's always enough snow captured because
Yeah.
it drifts into from all
Right.
around. So we
Yeah.
get snow extra and it melts down, but the trees and everything provides enough shade that
Shade.
that has made so sometimes the top will freeze down, but we'll have the plant, like the plant
Yeah.
will survive, which is made a difference. First time I learned about this, one lady, I was giving a talk in about 2 hours north of Montreal in a like zone 3. And this lady's telling me, she says, what do you do when lavender is such a weed? I said, what? Like we could, for years, until like 4 years ago, lavender would freeze out every winter. And so I'm thinking, how can you have lavender? You sure you know what lavender is? Yeah, yeah, yeah. She says, I went to a lavender farm, I bought a plant there, and I grew it. And now it's spreading all over my yard. And I'm thinking, wait, no, that can't be. And so it's just, yeah, it's the lavender, but it's seeding everywhere and it's growing well. And I have too much of it. I'm pulling it out.
Mm,
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're in a zone that lavender should not grow. So I was questioning her. I said, well, when does the snow come? Oh, she said, usually by mid-November or end of November, we have, a foot of snow.
mm,
I thought, oh, wow. Okay. And I said, when does the snow leave? Oh, usually early May. Well, I thought, gee, you know what? That lavender, even though it's a cold zone, but the lavender never sees -15. It's always covered with 3 feet of snow or more. So it's
right.
under this
It's close to
protective.
zero all winter long, like it's the ground temperature.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And some years the soil is probably not even frozen
That's right.
solid. So
Yeah.
it's like, wow, that was like I had heard a report that there's areas north of Montreal that could grow certain perennials better than Montreal. I thought, how does that make sense? But it's because of the snow cover.
Yeah, no,
So
we
when
have
you get that thaw in -15, like it's very hard on the plants.
well, people don't believe me because my kale, so I have a variety of kale I grow and I save the seeds. And I have to cover it with I create plastic domes over the kale for the winter. And it's supposed to be, I'm in zone 6, and kale's a tough plant, and even though the plant dies back, it's supposed to survive. It's a perennial.
Right.
It's a
It's a
biennial.
biennial. Yeah.
So it's supposed to come back. My kale always dies. Same with carrots here. They die in the winter, and it's because the ground freezes solid. So the only way to get my kale to survive so I can save seeds is I have, same with carrots. If I have a open pollinated variety of carrot, I have to put a plastic dome over it. And not only that, it has to be like near the center of the dome. It can't be
Yeah.
near the edge or it'll just die.
What
Uh,
about if you put like 2 bags of leaves?
that would
You
probably
know,
work too. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything like that. So yeah, but people can't believe it because I'm in this temperate zone in zone 6, and it doesn't matter because the ground is getting so cold, right? It's just freezing solid. The roots don't survive it. They can't handle that.
It only
So,
takes one night. I lived through losing 25% of my 4,000 tree orchard when I bought, and it
wow.
was only one night at -38. But one night at -38 probably had, I don't remember the conditions, but there was no snow. It was
Right.
a after it was right after a January thaw. So the snow had left and then bang. So it was cold enough and it froze deep enough that it actually killed trees. Boom,
Killed the
dried
rootstock.
right out.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I understand the whole idea of I always say now, just plant your insurance. Like, don't bother with oh, it's getting warmer. Yeah, it's getting warmer until we get one night of colder. And then all your years of work and waiting will be lost. So I always say plant one zone colder as just you're buying an insurance policy. You're in
Yeah.
zone 6, plant things that are zone 5 hardy,
Yes.
and you're not going to be bothered. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it could be whatever, but it's already, you've planted in that insurance right from the get go. It's nice to play. I call it play plants. Have 10% of your plants, 5% that are zone 7 or zone
Yeah.
6, and you're
Yeah.
trying the very edge. Go ahead, play with them. And then when you lose them, you go, okay, well, I was expecting to lose them. But you're not expecting to lose your zone 6 plants. But if you plant zone 5, you're going like, I don't care. We could have a week of cold weather, which it's not if you have it, it's when. And the
That's right.
when can be it's a time scale that you forget. Like our -38 was the coldest temperature now that's been in 75 years. 75 years is a while. Like most people don't remember it. I don't remember it.
Mm.
But you look at the records. Look, you have now Environment Canada has the statistical record for your area. Look at what's the coldest you've had in 100 years. Because even though it's a small chance, but if you're talking a perennial, which you want to live for years, you will get that temperature eventually.
Yes.
I mean, we're getting the higher highs and the lower lows. Well, it's the lower lows that are the problem. The higher highs, yeah, it stresses the plant, but it doesn't usually kill them. It's the
Yes.
lower lows that will absolutely destroy. Like if you have a thaw and then instead of minus 15, you hit minus 22, woo, there's a lot of plants will look very dead in the spring
Yes. Yeah,
because
your zone six plant is dead.
zone 6, it's like forget it, they're not going to make
Yeah.
it.
I should ask you, I had what I believe was an apple tree die this year. So I had a Sweet 16, beautiful apple. I moved the tree when it was fairly mature, okay? But I moved it a few years ago, and so like I moved it in the fall, let's say 3 years ago, and it grew just fine the following year, and I think it grew okay the year after that. Uh, but this year, it did not leaf out in the spring. It had buds, but no leaves. And then it just was sort of dried up. And as far as I can tell, like like when I peel back the bark a little bit, I'd see some green, but I'm seeing less and less of that. It seems to like I think the tree's dead. I've had a lot of viewers say, just leave it another year, but it literally did not put on any leaves this year. Um, and it was fine before then. Um, so I don't know if it got too cold in the winter or too wet in the winter. Maybe there's the new spot I moved it to. I know when we moved the tree, we destroyed the root system, and maybe it didn't reestablish itself well enough to handle a bad winter or a wet winter or a cold winter or whatever. It just didn't have the resiliency. I don't know. That's my best guess. Um,
Yeah, the bigger the tree you move, the longer it takes. Like I've seen trees that basically languish for 5 years.
mm,
It's like I wouldn't give up on it.
really? Even though it didn't leaf out this
Well,
year.
if it's green under yeah, because what it can do, the tree, it's amazing. It makes sense. They can sense how much energy they have. And it's like that's extreme that it doesn't produce any leaves and it still stayed green. That's a weird combination.
Well, it's not so green now, so now it's much
Okay.
more brittle. Like it used to
Oh,
bend
okay.
and now it's snap. So it was green, but every month in the summer I'd snap off a branch tip just to see is it brittle, is it bendy, and it's gotten progressively more brittle and less green at the tips.
I mean,
But
it
I don't know.
sounds like it's dying completely, but what it could do, no leaves, that's not a good sign.
No.
But what it could do is it could be just trying to send it to the root and it'll die back right to the base and then it will send the new shoot right from above the roots.
Mm.
I mean,
But that would be rootstock, not variety.
well, it it could be it depends how low down
Yeah,
it'll,
yeah, 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 yeah.
the
Yeah.
tree doesn't care. It just wants to survive.
The tree doesn't
On,
care. It doesn't need me to have whatever.
no,
I remember that video you have where you take a bite out of your rootstock and talk about how awful it tastes. This
yeah,
variety of apple.
they don't care at all. So, um, all
Anyway,
right. Another one was finding land. Uh,
yeah.
Finding land is kind of, you've been dreaming of this, you've been thinking of this, and people who have already found land, I've even consulted with someone where I said, look, you don't want to hear this because you bought this piece of land as your dream to do an orchard. But I said, your best option is to sell this piece of land and find a piece of land that's best suited for an orchard
Mm,
because not every piece of land is orchard land, just like not every piece of land is sheep pasture.
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
If you bought this beautiful bottomland that's wet and nice and lush, wet meadows, that's not sheep pasture. I mean, that's we've had sheep and man, sheep don't like wet feet. Like if you create mud, that's not a positive place for sheep. You're going to have foot rot, you're going to have foot problems, you're going to be dipping feet, and there's all kinds of problems because sheep are mountainside animals. Like
Mm,
sheep go with orchard trees.
right.
Cows go in the bottoms. Like they can they don't enjoy it, but I mean there's water buffalo to live in the marshes.
Yeah, yeah.
There's animals for every
Pigs.
people for yeah, every condition. So finding land is one. I would say next thing you really want to know is, do you want to buy the land or do you want to lease the land? And that's kind of people go, well, no, I want to, I want to have my own land. But you have your own land doesn't mean you own land. Like your own land is not necessarily owning land. It's really controlling what goes on the land. That's what I
Mm,
mean by you can get a lease. You could get a 25-year lease on a piece of land where now 25 years, I could put in an orchard. It'll be left as an orchard when my lease is done. But if you do a 25-year and,
roll it over.
roll over after 25 years, but that's possible. That way you don't have the big upfront cost and mortgage. You're paying a yearly lease. And actually, honestly, in the years to come, there will be a lot of land available because the average age of farmers is so much higher.
Mm,
And you figure in the US, it's striking. I think the average age of farmers is 67 years old. So it's like, how much longer are these people going to farm? So there's going to be a huge block. I think it's 40% of all farmland will change hands in the next 10 years.
mm,
That's a lot of 40%. That's millions and millions of acres. So do you have to own it? No, because there's probably people who would just like to know that this land will be farmed or will not go back to forest. Because honestly, in the East, as soon as you stop, it'll go back to forest. Like Nova Scotia, there's no meadows. Maybe in the wet meadows in the salt marshes, but all of it is it'll
If it's a
revert
meadow
back.
here, it's because nothing like we have one behind our house here. About a kilometer back in the woods, we have what you might call a meadow. It's a meadow because the soil is so poor. Only scrub will grow there. It's like something you'd see in Nunavut. Like it's like moss and
Okay.
things. It's moss, so it's acidic. It's moss and things that grow in moss. These little knee-high bushes that rip your pants off when you walk through. Blueberries and some different berries and stuff like that. But it's just this infertile. There's no trees there because trees can't grow. It's moss on top of rocks.
Oh yeah.
It's like granite and gravel from some glacier. And so it looks like a meadow, but it's not a meadow. But yeah, anywhere else, any place that will support trees, it just become like my lawn. Every spring, we mow a billion maple trees when we mow the lawn because they're, a maple tree the seeds. There's maple trees and alders and there's like a field of trees and we mow it all down and it becomes grass again.
So you figure if you don't mow for 3 years, what happens?
It's a
I mean,
forest, yes, because that's decent soil. It's yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So I mean that's part of it. And if you have an idea, if you went through and you just answered really those first few questions, what do you want to raise or what do you want to grow? And the clearer that is, then then when you're looking to buy land, you buy the land that's best suited to what you
yes,
want to do. And I
yeah,
always say, grow what grows like a weed on that piece of
yes,
property. It may not be what you thought you wanted to grow. Like I thought, okay, this is an apple orchard. I'm going to grow, but our land is not best suited. There hasn't been wild apple trees until about the last 3 years
yeah,
when the soil has actually improved that now an apple seedling or an apple seed will actually germinate. Before that, for 25 years, I never saw an apple seedling.
mm,
And the last 3 years, we've been getting pear and apple starting up.
mm,
So the soil has changed. But before that, naturally our soil was cherry trees and grapevines.
Mm.
So if I had really listened and observed it early on, I would have focused on, and that's what
Cherries
we've
and
been,
grapes.
cherries and grapes. I mean, boy, when we grow cherries and grapes, it's like, it's crazy. Like, especially the grapes, man, they grow. Like, I'm weeding out grapes everywhere because they want to grow everywhere.
That's
That's what you
funny.
want. You want to know if you grow like us, it's wild grapes that grow. So when we put cultivated grapes, man, they grow. Like it's that's what you want. They're an indication of what you can grow easy. And I don't have to do anything. Like we just prune our grapes. That's all we do.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to fertilize. You don't
I think
have to
Steph
do.
Holzer says that in his book. Like you take a walk around and see what's growing wild there,
Yep.
and if there's a cultivar that's close to that wild, like in my garden, there's a plant that looks like parsnip that just grows everywhere. And what do you know? Parsnips grow really well. So do carrots, like extreme, it's a very clay soil. It doesn't look like it's very good stuff, but parsnips grow like you wouldn't believe in my garden.
Like
Um,
weeds.
yeah, and I mean, there's wild blackberries and wild raspberries, and what do you know? They grow really well back there too. Uh, so,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's excellent. It basically it's it. When you walk, I mean, you and I have had this conversation before. When you walk through a forest, you can tell, oh, this is all pine trees. There's no maple here. Then you go to another part, it's like, oh, there's lots of maple here, and not as many other. Like you could, the soil, what's growing there is telling you what the soil conditions are, whether it's not just the various the nutrients in the soil, but also just whether it's dry soil or wet soil or sandy soil or dense soil or good drainage or poor drainage or all that. Like there's a part I walk through where there's tamarack trees. They only grow in one part of the woods back there. They don't grow anywhere else because mainly it's nothing can grow. The tamarack grow in swamps, right? So this
Hmm.
is this black, crappy muck.
Old Pete.
Yes, so you got these tamarack trees and well, nothing else can grow there, right? So yeah, the piece of land will tell you. It's funny, we buy the land and we want to impose on it,
That's it.
but it's the land should just tell you what's even if you have a large enough piece of land, one part of it might be good for this thing and another part might be good for something else.
Well, you
Yeah,
think like now, because we have mechanical means to dominate the land so much,
yeah,
but when people didn't have, let's say at best they had an oxen and the work was phenomenal, like the amount
yeah.
of work was crazy, people observed a lot more. And I remember reading the accounts that people would look for black walnut because where black walnut grew, they knew it was a deep, well-drained soil.
Mm,
So if they wanted to grow corn or they wanted to grow grains, whatever, they would get bumper crops for many years because they knew that soil there was already like that.
mm,
In the same way, in our area, a lot of the all the orchards, the classical orchards that have been there for over 100 years, are all growing on the slopes that used to be sugar maple. So often they have a sugar maple operation for the spring, and then they have an apple operation for the fall because
mm,
it's the same conditions that both need. And
yeah,
where they grew good sugar maple, they would grow good apple trees.
yeah,
So, if you're trying, oh no, I'm going to grow like ours, is absolutely a beach. There is no wild apple trees there. And if you want to grow apple trees, you have to put a lot of effort. And
mm,
so our apple trees are growing because they're over 40 years old, the old ones. But originally it took fertilizer. It took a lot of work and irrigation for years to
mm,
get those trees established. And so you have a choice. It's your land, it's your choice. But I always say nothing beats easy.
yeah,
If you're trying to grow parsnip where the wild parsnip is growing, I mean, you don't have to work at it. You just put it in the ground and you're
yeah,
going to grow beautiful parsnips because that's what the soil wants to grow. It's like,
yeah,
look, don't fight that. Start with that. I'm not saying grow only that, but start with that. It's so encouraging because you put it in and you go, I mean, Anybody could grow that there.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just grows like a weed. And when you find that, it's easy. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
blackberries. Blackberries grow. Put in blackberries. Put in some blackberries. Start with the easiest things,
Yeah.
and then you can grow what's going to need a little more finesse and a little more care and attention. But the stuff that you don't have to do anything and it produces abundantly, you're not going to regret that. You're going to go
Oh,
like, "Oh man, we get blackberries, like we get tired of blackberries. There's so much." That's a good thing to reach that point.
yeah. Yep.
Where
Absolutely.
August comes around, you go, "Oh man, the garden is cranking like crazy on these things," and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Another one is exchanging time for money or money for time. So you got to know which situation you're at. Usually, you're younger, you probably have more time than money, and hopefully, as you age, the reverse happens. You have more money but less time.
Yes.
So know that you will have trade-offs. Like in the beginning, we did not buy our trees because I didn't have the money. So we just grew our nursery and we did our own things. It just took longer. It takes a few years to have your trees ready
Yeah.
rather than just going out and buying. But know that you want to do that exchange. The other one, well, we talked about that. What grows like a weed, and that comes with observation. Okay. Um, let's see another question that you would have. I had modeling your planting design. That's kind of getting very specific. Considered adding mulch. That's getting very specific. Just start. Just start is important because if I've seen in comments on the YouTube videos and so on, people say, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that." And then I see comments of, "You know what? You gave me the umph to start and I put it in, and man, that's so, I should have done it 3 years earlier, but I put it in."
No.
And it's that just start. Like you're
Do
thinking of,
something. Yeah.
I want to grow out there and I want to have a big flower garden. Where you are, put some flowers in a pot outside your window, even if you're in an apartment.
Yeah.
Just start. Just do
If you're in an
something.
apartment in a city and there's a community garden and like you're watching a whole bunch of homesteaders or whatever on YouTube and you're completely in love with this idea, uh, get a 10 by 4 plot in the community garden and try growing a garden for a year.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
It's,
Grow whatever you're dreaming of,
I think when I was in graduate school, there was one down the road and you could rent a plot out for $20 for a year. And I mean, you'll know if you're a gardener after that year. You know?
I don't know if you'll know if you're a gardener, because even if you didn't know anything and you started, look, in the beginning, you could do everything wrong and the year could be against you. But if you've got the perseverance, you say, okay, I learned a lot this year. Maybe the site was terrible. Like we have a big community garden
Well,
right
that's
behind the
true.
house, and not every plot is the same. Like you always see the plots that are the worst ones because they're the lowest spot and it's
Mhm.
the last place to drain. And you know what? That thing, people take it for a year or two and then they leave it. It's a tough plot. Maybe you got that one because nobody else wanted it and they go, well, there's that one. Okay, I'll take that. If it's a dry year, you're laughing because you didn't need to water and it just grew things easily. But if it's a wet year, you go, nothing I grew worked out
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yes,
So there is those things which you'll learn along the way. I mean,
that's true.
you'll learn even basic things of going, hey, this is lower down. I mean, water's in my ditch. How come it's not in their ditches? And just basic things you'll start to, but you don't know until you just start. Like so much of it, like you said, the first time you started gardening, you just started. You didn't read about it and all this. You just start because,
Actually, that's a really interesting point because I got really lucky. Like, I just started and everything grew well. And so I had such a positive experience, right? Boy, I'm really good at this. But I mean, I had a garden in a part of Nova Scotia. It's the agricultural sort of belt of Nova Scotia. It's got the best soil, best growing conditions, best everything. Um, and then I moved here where I live. You can just tell if you look at the forest, it's spruce trees and alder trees. If you see spruce trees and alder trees, you have the worst soil in the world. It's just not a good place. You have spruce trees and alder trees because nothing can grow there except those things. And those trees grow on rocks. And that's pretty much what you've got, you know. So I had to read. That's when I started reading all this permaculture stuff. I came across you, all this sort of stuff, because I was like, oh, I thought I knew what I was doing. I don't know anything. I was just lucky. I had like a great spot. Anyone could grow anything there. It was like the Garden of Eden and the mythological growing conditions sort of thing. Um, I worked with a lady, and her first garden was at a community plot, and everything grew well. And then she bought a house, and nothing worked. And she didn't have that mindset like I was like, well, okay, I have to figure this out. This is a puzzle now. This is a really difficult puzzle. Nothing, what do I got to do to make this work? And well, just you know, a couple dump truck loads of manure and everything works. That's the solution for where I was. Manure, right? Manure and removing because we don't get good sun here because there's a lot of fog and stuff. So manure and removing trees or only allowing trees to grow to a certain height, getting as much sun as I can get, all the sun I can possibly capture, and improving the nutrient quality of the soil. And then everything was fine, and having everything raised a bit because it's wet.
And
Right.
what you've probably been adding is tons of leaves over the years.
Annually, organic matter, tons of organic
Yeah.
matter. Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes.
had one client years ago, gosh, when I was doing landscape architecture, they had a site that it was a blue clay. It was a kind of renowned blue clay. It was complete marine clay, so
Mm,
dense that in the summer when it dried, like you would see 4 inch crack, like there was 4 inches of a crack. They used to take that and they would mine it for pottery. It was
yeah,
perfect clay. I mean, it was pottery clay. It wasn't soil so much.
yes,
And so when I looked at it, I thought, wow, this is the heaviest clay I've ever seen.
yeah,
And so I looked around a little bit and I saw people had trees, but it was like on some trees, like a spruce tree, you can quite easily count how old the tree is. And I'm thinking, man, there's never been a year where that tree grew more than 4 inches. Like it's stacked. It's a 30-year-old tree, but it's 12 feet high, you know?
right. Like on the
And it's
top of a
like,
mountain sort of thing. Yes,
yeah,
like an
but this is
alpine
just
tree.
because the tree is like it's a very tough soil, but if you unlock it, and I had done other projects where clay is both extremes. It's an incredible soil, but it's an incredibly unforgiving soil if you mistreat it.
Yeah.
So I said to the clients, they were building their house and they wanted a big garden. So we designed it. And so I said, okay, here's the simplest program you can do because you're not going to do your garden until your house is done. So I said, you got time. So let's take time to work. Let's let time work for you. So I said, call your pruning companies around, have them dump, and we're going to delimit. Here's going to be your garden. Here's going to be a bed. And so we would just pick it everywhere they wanted to grow something in the future. Never mind grass, but just like grow beds. And I said, just have them back up and dump their loads. And all you have to do is just take the peak off. So it's about 3 to 4 feet high and just dump it like that. And
Hmm.
so they did. Well, once you put that amount of wood chips on that kind of clay, the worms move in
Yeah,
and
it is.
they just start mixing that up. Like it didn't take them not even 2 years. And they said, as soon as you open it, like you saw clay 2.5 feet up from the soil,
Hmm.
which was the worms like just continually bringing
Yeah, yeah.
up and down. And when they put a garden, they said they had over 50-foot vines from squash. Like they
Wow.
said, the squash would start in the garden and just go and like crazy.
Yeah.
And they they put in this garden, we put in some trees, and 5 years after we planted these little trees, the neighbors came to ask, like, we've seen you were here, only 7 years. You only planted these trees lately, and your same tree that we have, they're already bigger than ours. Like, what did you
Yeah, yeah,
do?
yeah,
We've been here for 25 years. You're here for 5 years, and your trees are bigger than ours.
yeah,
So that's when they said, well, they remember back when they were dumping these loads here. So unlocking that, whatever site you're on, you can change, but it's always easier to work with the site.
yeah,
But sites can be changed. Like
yeah, yeah,
like you say, tons of manure, you absolutely will change a site. Tons of leaves, tons of wood chips.
yeah,
And I would
yeah.
say take what's the easiest resource that you could get free.
Yeah.
Oftentimes horse manures, horse stables
That's what I
often
use. It's all horse
they,
manure back there. Yeah.
yeah, it's free. It like if you want to come and get it, come get it, clean out the horse stable, and you get all this manure. I mean, if you wanted to grow vegetables in the winter in your climate, you just create hotbeds. Put that horse manure 1 foot deep and then put your soil on top of it. All winter, you'll have composting horse manure heating the soil. And if you put a little
Yeah,
cloche over that, you can
yeah.
grow your lettuce all winter long, or spinach at least anyway, and it'll
Spinach,
do really
mayfield. Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. That would work. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that all of them?
Um, yeah, just starting. I would say one last one is invite and add your structures for allies. So it seems like what I call it allies. It's your bees, your pollinators, your predators, your birds. Yes, they can be annoying. Yes, you can have a porcupine, but if you have something working for you 24 hours a day that does things that you don't have to,
Yeah.
like this year we had a huge bumper crop at the farm, and we should have had tremendous amounts because it was in the reports, it was this is a big year for these certain caterpillars and different leaf rollers and so on. And I'm like, where's these leaf rollers? There's none.
Mm,
But we had such a strong population of wasps this year
wasps. Yeah.
that they took care of them. It's like, I don't have leaf roll. I don't have problems with these. So the sooner you can build up your population, I say in the case of fruit trees, you want to start when you plant your trees because it'll take 2, 3, 4 years to build up insect populations on your property.
Mm,
And the same with birds. It'll take a while to build your population up so that then they will do the work when you start getting fruit. And so it's like I did it, but I didn't. Yes, because it takes a while.
mm,
Populations don't build overnight. The prey often can, but not the predators.
yeah.
So it's yeah, it's get them working for you. It's always a nice thing.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And I've seen those. There's been years where I have a really hard time with my brassicas, with there's at least three pests: slugs, snails, flea beetles, and a kind of moth that leaves a caterpillar. Um, but last couple of years, I haven't done anything. I mean, they're around, those pests, but generally speaking, the wasps and other predators handle them enough that I don't have to, like, I could have better plants if I treated them with BTK or whatever. Um, but I can also just do nothing and still get a yield with a few holes in it, which is what I would have been. There's been years where I had to intervene because it was so bad. But it's been a few years since that's been necessary. But when you're in the garden, there's birds and wasps everywhere, right? Everything. So I think I've got that nice balance. I don't know if it'll maintain. You can have a weird year, right?
Yeah.
But right now I've got that nice balance where it's a very maintenance-free garden, except for like when the seedlings are this big. The flea beetles are a problem. They can be a problem, but it's like 2 weeks of maybe every other day, you just spray a little bit of insecticidal soap on them, and then once they get about 6 inches high, the pest damage isn't. The pests are still around, but they can shrug it off.
Have
Um,
you ever used the agronomic AI programs? There's one in particular I tried lately. It's called Field Lark AI,
No, what do you say
like
that stuff?
Field Lark Lark
Oh,
AI, and it's pretty crazy because I have blueberries that aren't doing well where I thought they'd do well. And I thought, like, why aren't these blueberries doing well? And it's agronomic, so it's going to run through your conditions and try to analyze,
oh,
why. And it was this thing that I didn't think of it, but it's my irrigation water. The pH is 7.2, and it's antagonistic really towards the great success of the blueberries. Like
mm,
I'd need a little more acidic water
yeah,
because it's always countering and my soil's always going up in pH by
mm,
watering. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. And so it's a great way. Like might put in, I have flea beetles in my brassicas, and it happens at this time of year. I'm in this climate, I'm in this zone, I'm
yeah,
on this kind of soil. Can you suggest, what possible is what's the main reason? There's always a reason. And for example, I did one to find out like scab on my apples. On some
mm,
years, this year is really very good, but some years I have quite a bit of damage. And it was like, well, cobalt is the main indicator. And it's like, cobalt, how much? 2 parts per million difference in cobalt will trigger scab. It's like,
oh,
what? How much is that? That's like a few ounces per acre.
yeah,
It's crazy how sometimes there's always it's the limiting factor. There's some limiting factor that's causing that you get this insect or this disease. And it's just nice, even if you may not change it, but to go, wow, okay. Like I'm thinking, you're not probably not that far from seaweed. And seaweed around some of your plants, it may not happen overnight, but as that seaweed breaks down and gives some of its micronutrients to your soil, you
hmm.
may find, wow, hey, there was a reason people used a lot of seaweed
Oh,
because it's like
seaweed's great.
you
Yeah,
put
I
it
mean,
as a mulch around your plants and you don't have to do anything. Like your
it's
plants will be fantastic.
seaweed is as good as manure in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's free. The only thing with seaweed around here is that there's a number of incredible weeds that are on our beaches. Uh, I know because I have all of them in my garden. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
like lamb's quarters.
Okay. Well,
So
that's a good indicator.
lamb's quarters is, I mean, it tastes like spinach. It's
Yeah.
edible, but
Yeah.
it's like when you don't want it, you don't, it's there. So, you put like a wheelbarrow full of seaweed uh, on your, you put a wheelbarrow full of seaweed from a beach where lamb's quarters grows along the edge, and that's gonna be in your garden forever.
Well, it also shows that your soil is like lamb's quarter won't show up in the worst places. It'll show up where the soil's definitely improved already.
Yeah, that's my
So,
entire garden. It just loves the garden because, I get like lush, beautiful, and actually I let some of it go in this. Like I have a few beds that I don't plant till June, right? I can't put peppers out until like I don't know, almost the middle of June or they'll die. So those beds might be like a field of lamb's quarters, and we'll just go out and harvest a whole bunch and use it for greens. Why not, right? But yeah, the seaweed's one of those weird things where they can have a lot of weeds and stuff and junk in it. But like I love having seaweed with my potatoes. That's a classic thing around here. I mean, it's a bit of a chore to gather because it's heavy and you got to drive down to the beach and stuff like that. But it's free,
you
and
mean what do? You put in your potatoes and then you just mound it up around it like you use it as a mulch?
no, seaweed doesn't make a good mulch. It does not. It dries out. It doesn't mean I did one season I had like hay, seaweed, and leaves, and compared them as mulch in terms of weed suppression and moisture retention. Okay, because those are the main thing. And you want your mulch to feed the soil, but I mean, if it's not maintaining moisture and it's not suppressing weeds, it's not so great, right? Um, so the seaweed, when it gets dry, it loses its ability it doesn't keep the soil as moist and it doesn't suppress weeds as well. So it's actually better added to this. I mean, The
All
best
right.
thing with seaweed is you put a layer of seaweed like an inch, and then you put like 2 inches of leaves over it. Leaves are the best.
Right.
They last the longest, and they suppress weeds the best. I think hay, you get the blackest, richest soil with hay because it's full of poop and pee and all kinds of stuff. It's nitrogen. Hay is nitrogen rich. So you want soil. The soil looks the best with hay, but it breaks down so fast it doesn't suppress weeds as long, and it has to be thick for it to keep the soil from drying out. So I think leaves are the best and they're free. And so I found the best combination is like a layer of seaweed right in contact with the soil because it's like manure. Um, and then you put the leaves on top of the seaweed. And then you get the best of both worlds, right? And the seaweed just cooks, in late fall and the early spring, and it just breaks down. That's the best combination. But by the time, like in the spring, like if it's a bed where you're planting something like carrots, you got to remove the leaves, right? Because if they blow on top of the carrot seedlings, slugs will kill your carrots because the carrots will become starved for light. And so you move the leaves off and you just lightly hoe the top couple inches of soil. And so all that seaweed's in there. It's all the seaweed by then is just this mush, right? And then you plant and everything grows like crazy. And then once the plants are about 6 inches high, you put the leaves back. Um, it's a system I developed over time, but it works. Also you remove the leaves so that the sun can warm the soil up, in the spring, get the frost out of there and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, all that stuff is. I'm gonna check out that. I just looked it up. That thing you said,
Field Lark AI.
field lark AI. I'll give that a try. I'll ask it some.
Yeah,
I'll ask
give
it
it a
some
run
questions.
because it's pretty powerful. I was surprised. It's like, wow, it doesn't take it's not like you know, what you'd find in a book and so on. It's book and field tested applications and so on, based a lot on what they call sap analysis, where it's like blood tests for plants.
Mm,
And so they know very precisely what's going on. And that's how they found out about this cobalt stuff. It's like,
oh.
what?
And it must be better than like if you ask Chat GPT a question, sometimes it gives you a good answer, and sometimes it gives you a just unbelievably stupid answer.
Yeah.
Like
No, this
it's
is
sort of hit or miss.
this is I mean, it's tailored for
Yes.
crop crop production, and that's what it's been trained on, us all the data and all the studies and so on relating to crop production. So it's very specific. I mean, it'll work great for gardening, but it's just to apply some of the recommendations. You go, where would I get cobalt? Like
I
so
wouldn't know.
it's an interesting thing, just at least to keep in mind. That's why I say seaweed, because it's a very broad spectrum
Yeah,
micronutrient. It's not the
yeah,
macronutrients, it's really the micronutrients. I mean,
yeah, yeah, I agree. Well, man, we've almost gone 2 hours.
all right. And listen, if anybody is in the audience that they say, yeah, that's something, just go back through this and
Yeah,
just stop the recording, stop the podcast at each question and give an honest answer. It's your future, it's your property. You may invest years of effort into this. So try to go through these and answer these questions as honestly and as
yeah,
thoughtfully as you can, because it will make all the difference. I mean, I put it together because it's like, wow, if I had known this, I would have saved years. Like, I would
yeah,
have had cherry trees just cranking with cherries by now,
yes.
and I don't yet. So it's like it's easier in hindsight, and it's what you said. What was Socrates' sentence again?
Uh, employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored hard for.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Yes.
worked, I've been at this for 30 years. You've been at this for how long since you make your first garden?
It's my first serious gardening effort, 2004. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
So
way ahead
you've
of
been
me.
at it for 20 and I've been at it for 30.
Yeah.
So 50 years combined effort. Just glean some of that advice. Certainly go see the link, as you said, about for this video. It'll just give you a few other ones that we didn't touch on, but it's something to keep in mind because I just want to go. I'm a starter.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, I started, I didn't even know what a rootstock was, and I had 4,000 apple trees in an orchard, you know? That's how little I had learned before jumping in.
Yes.
So you can do that, but there's usually a lot easier path than that.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Great. That was a great point to end it on, Stefan. Thank you so much for doing this. Always love talking to you. Always a great conversation, and we can't stop, which is great. Everybody out there, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my Substack articles at maritimegardening.substack.com. Check out Stefan's channel. As you've changed the name of your channel a few times. Your YouTube channel is called
Stefan Sobkowiak, the Permaculture
the
Orchard.
Permaculture Orchard. Okay. Um, and until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Stefan, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Greg.
Great.
Bye.
Oh, man.